The chamber was cold, not from the air, but from the weight of unspoken truths about to be dragged into the open. Rain streaked the tall windows behind the committee bench, as if the weather itself hesitated to witness the unraveling of a carefully crafted myth. At the center of the room, Elon Musk sat, flanked by two attorneys who looked like they were still adjusting to the gravity of the moment. The press pool's lights flickered, cameras trained on the man who had turned rockets into reality and now aimed to dismantle a political legend. The chairman's gavel fell, and with a voice like gravel he spoke, "Mr. Musk, you may proceed with your opening statement." Musk adjusted the microphone, his gaze sweeping the room. Senators, aides, reporters, and, across the aisle, Barack Obama himself, hands folded, eyes steady as a chess master. "I'm not here to lecture," Musk began, his tone measured but unyielding. "I'm here to remind you that facts don't vanish just because they make someone uncomfortable." A ripple passed through the room. A senator shifted in her seat. A producer whispered to an aide. Outside, thunder rolled, low and ominous. The accusation was simple but seismic. The man who had sold America, a vision of hope and change, had been a product of corporate design. A Wall Street-funded figurehead who expanded wars, enriched himself, and weaponized belief to sedate a nation. Musk wasn't just testifying. He was performing a political autopsy, and the body on the table was the legacy of a president once hailed as a savior. It began with a post on X, Musk's platform, a 6-minute video titled "The Fraud We Worshipped." No cinematic flair, no music, just raw, unfiltered fury from a commentator named Jamie Dorr, eyes blazing as he pointed at the camera. "He made sure the bankers got their bonuses," Dorr barked, "while millions of families were kicked out of their homes. That's not policy. That's betrayal with a smile." He went further, citing numbers. The candidate who ran as a progressive had taken more corporate money than his conservative rival. And then the knockout blow. An email, leaked and verified, from a Wall Street titan to the president's team, listing names for the cabinet. Every single one had been appointed. The video spread like wildfire across X, igniting forums, hashtags, and debates. Conservative voices amplified it. Independents paused to reconsider, and even loyalists faltered. Hashtags like "Bankers Cabinet" and "Exposed" trended, not because of the current administration, but because of a man whose articulate charm had long shielded him from scrutiny. By midday, the White House, under a new combative leadership, couldn't ignore it. The press secretary, voice sharp, addressed the nation. "If this is true, and it looks like it is, someone's got explaining to do." A senator, never one to miss a moment, called it the biggest sellout in modern history. And then the Speaker of the House signed a subpoena. Elon Musk would testify before Congress. The chamber was packed, the air heavy with anticipation. Musk rose, holding a single document, the kind that sends PR teams into panic. "Let's start with the email," he said, his voice cutting through the hum of whispers. Behind him, screens flickered to life, displaying black text on a white background. A message from a Wall Street executive dated before the administration's first term, listing cabinet picks, budget, treasury, state, defense. Next to it, a second column, the actual appointments. Name for name, role for role, a perfect match. The room stilled. Reporters scrambled, phones buzzed, and a producer muttered, "If this is real, we need a second panel." Obama, seated across the room, leaned forward, his calm tactical. That document was a recommendation, not a directive, he said, voice smooth as silk over steel. My team reviewed suggestions from many sources and chose based on qualifications. Musk's smile was slight but sharp. Right. And every one of their suggestions just happened to walk into your cabinet like they owned the place. When was the last time your dentist emailed you a grocery list, and you followed it to the letter? The room didn't laugh. It recognized. Obama's jaw tensed, subtle but telling. It's easy to assign conspiracy to coordination, he countered. Leadership requires consultation. Wall Street has institutional knowledge, whether you like it or not. Consultation is a meeting, Musk replied. Submission is when your cabinet reads like an earnings report. The screens shifted, showing data on banker bonuses post-recession, juxtaposed with foreclosure rates. You protected the architects of collapse while families lost everything. That's not governance, that's allegiance. Musk pivoted to foreign policy, his tone growing colder. Under your presidency, the United States didn't reduce war, it scaled it, from 2 active combat zones to 7. He listed them. Nations torn by drones, strikes, and interventions. If war is a business, you weren't just the CEO. You were head of global expansion. Gasps echoed, not from the public, who'd heard whispers of drone strikes, but from the committee, now watching their narrative burn. Obama leaned forward, his voice steady. With all due respect, Mr. Musk, you're mistaking hard choices for betrayal. I inherited wars without strategy. I brought precision, reduced risk, minimized casualties. That's not escalation. It's evolution. Musk didn't flinch. Evolution? You sanitized warfare, made killing feel humane as long as it came through a screen. 1 drone strike every 8 minutes in your final year, and we still called you the Nobel Peace Prize president. You turned war into background noise. The silence wasn't tension. It was impact. Outside, protesters clashed, signs reading, "Stop covering for war," alongside, "Musk is a traitor." Inside, the media swarmed, headlines torn between "Musk defames" and "Musk unveils." A senator, visibly irritated, interjected, "Are you accusing him of imperialism? War profiteering?" Musk folded his hands. "Number, I'm accusing him of something worse, sedating a nation's conscience with sharp suits and targeted strikes. You rebranded war as diplomacy, made peace mean fewer boots, not fewer coffins." The hearing turned to healthcare, the administration's signature achievement. Musk called up a remote expert, Dr. Evelyn Grant, a policy scholar with no partisan ties. Her voice was sharp as she dissected the Affordable Care Act. "It's structurally a descendant of a conservative model," she said, displaying charts. "Individual mandates, employer requirements, subsidy formulas, nearly identical to plans crafted by think tanks decades earlier." Gasps mingled with eye rolls. An aide dropped a stylus. Musk stood. Americans thought they were getting a revolution. They got a retread in a different shade of blue, with a Nobel speech on top. Obama countered, eyes steady. Millions got covered. Families had hope. You can play word games, but lives changed. "And millions lost their doctors, their plans," Musk shot back. "What's the cost of coverage if it breaks the system? Reform should feel like freedom, not paperwork in a better font." A senator cut in, "Are you saying we should have done nothing?" Musk turned, calm but merciless. "I'm saying selling corporate scaffolding as moral progress is dishonest." The focus shifted to Kamala Harris, former vice president, who rose with a smile that flickered like a weak signal. "You're painting this with cynicism," she said. "I earned my place. I fought to be here." Musk didn't look up. "You didn't fight, Madame Vice President. You were installed by donors who needed a prettier interface for the same corrupt system." A new witness, Megyn Kelly, took the stand, her pace deliberate. "I attended an event hosted by your foundation," she said, addressing Obama. "Major donors, media figures, campaign architects. The topic, succession planning. A billionaire said, 'We need a new face of war. She's perfect.'" "He meant you, Kamala." Harris chuckled, but it was hollow. Screens showed her flatlining primary polls, then leaked memos discussing optics enhancement. Musk's voice was surgical. "You didn't win the crowd. You were stapled to the ticket by the same people who built his cabinet. Power doesn't need permission. It needs packaging." Obama shifted, silent. Harris opened her mouth, but no words landed. The room murmured, not in dissent, but in recognition. Representation wasn't breaking ceilings, it was reinforcing mirrors. Musk turned to belief itself, the narrative's most volatile thread. "Let's talk about accusation as a weapon," he said. "The Me Too movement began with pain, ended with power. We stopped distinguishing justice from journalism, evidence from headlines." He cited a high-profile case, a man accused without evidence, presumed guilty because guilt sold better. "We were told to believe all women always. No nuance, just hashtags and shame." Obama spoke, controlled but firm. "Survivors deserve to be heard. Pain isn't something you cross-examine." Musk's reply was merciless. "Pain deserves compassion. Accusation deserves scrutiny. Public figures don't get to hide behind emotion when they're shaping policy." He referenced another case, decades old, calling it a high-tech lynching. "It wasn't justice, it was performance." A congresswoman bristled. "Are you suggesting these women lied?" Musk raised an eyebrow. "I'm suggesting truth requires more than sentiment. Unchecked belief becomes unchecked power." The gavel fell, not to silence, but to structure. Outside, protests flared. "Believe survivors versus truth needs evidence." Inside, the divide was deeper. Not ideological, but about how we know what's true. Musk pointed to a graph, stark and climbing. The rise of terms like white supremacy in media after a failed economic movement. Did racism surge overnight, or did someone realize outrage mutes dissent? He clicked to a word cloud of identity terms. When economic protests fizzled, cultural warfare lit up. It wasn't the elite we were told to fear, it was each other. Harris leaned in. "You're suggesting race and gender talks are distractions?" Musk met her eyes. I'm saying they've been monetized. Hijacking pain to deflect from class warfare isn't progress, it's strategy." He quoted a philosopher, "The media manufactures consent, easiest when people fight each other." Obama stood, voice heavy. "You've never lived my experiences, grown up in skin that makes you a target." Musk's response was softer but brutal. "I don't need to wear your skin to see when it's used as armor, shielding not from bullets, but from accountability." He walked to the center, no script. "You said working-class Americans clung to guns and faith because they were bitter. That wasn't critique, it was condescension. They clung to what no one could repossess." Megyn Kelly returned, her tone all business. Screens showed properties, a coastal estate, a city mansion, a tropical retreat, a hometown relic, tens of millions in value. Estimated net worth post-presidency, over $70 million, she said. Book deals, speeches, streaming contracts, a lifetime of service, 4 mansions, 1 empire. Musk rose. How does one finance this dream? No memoir, no keynote is worth that, unless it's penned by a legend and filmed by a genius. Either publishers lost their minds, or someone cashed in on myth. Obama's reply was quick. I've worked hard, earned opportunities in a capitalist society. You worked hard, Musk said, but millions worked hard and didn't leave with beachfront equity. They got pink slips, broken promises, and watched you smile about hope while their mortgages collapsed. The room didn't erupt. It tightened, the truth not shouted but said. The gavel fell, not as an end but a comma. The chairman's voice cracked. Investigation will commence immediately. Within hours, committees issued referrals, probes into financial ties, drone casualties, media collusion. Online, hashtags surged. Unmasked trended globally. A former aide penned an anonymous confession. We thought he was the light. Maybe we stood too close to the fire. A journalist, once a believer, wrote, I saw the signs. I chose silence. The former president appeared on air, his rhythm familiar but faltering. Things were complicated. We did what we thought was best. The clip, choppy and apologetic, became a meme, a trend, a mirror. Polls shifted. Most Americans wanted answers, half suspected corporate coordination, and the new administration gained ground. Musk declined interviews, posting only on X. People aren't angry you lied. They're angry you told the truth about someone they weren't ready to doubt. The final image lingered. Obama, suitcase in hand, gripping a worn book, its spine frayed. The camera cut to a plaque near the chamber, once inscribed with a slogan of unity. Someone had scratched it down to one word, can. The storm hadn't passed. It had changed shape. Empires don't fall from outside. They rot when the packaging fails. And in that chamber, the truth didn't roar. It hit, square and undeniable.